Hi, welcome back to Battleship Cove. I'm your host, Tom Lowney, Gunner's Mate First Class Retired, and we are inside the 5-inch 38 mount. Now, we're not going to get in detail about the mount itself. That's another segment altogether that I want to cover with a more in-depth in the history. But in preserving the fleet and how we operate this mount, because we do operate the mounts on the O2 level here, and we don't use the ones on the O1. These are operated in the fact that they use as saluting batteries. Armin Vingen, Mr. Pelletier, and a few others, John St. Laurent, a lot of the volunteers have keyed in to getting these mounts into what we call a firing condition. Firing, to caution you, we use it as a saluting battery, all right, which does not require the barrel, say, projectile ready. We legally can't do it. We don't have permits in the state of Massachusetts to fire a 5-inch gun, and the neighbors wouldn't like it. And no, just to get you people understanding that when we fire these, it's basically a 1-pound charge in a spent canister that we use for saluting purposes for special events that come up, like our 9/11 tribute and our Memorial Day tribute. We also do special events. We just did one for the school department here to demonstrate a saluting battery and how it is used. And the gun does not fire a projectile. It cannot. The design projectile that you normally would think, okay, would be similar here. Now this is a trainer. There's no rotating band on it. This would actually be used in our other segment for our loading training machine. We'll get more into that. Now, if it was a real fireable projectile, it's 55-pound weight. It's full of sand. It's a BL&P, blind loaded and projectile. It's used for firing and training purposes. It has a rotating band, is machined properly, and it's set. Now, if this could be fired outside the gun, but it cannot. These barrels here, to give you an idea of what's going on a real active ship, the gun systems have to be periodically checked. Now, a bore gauge has to be run through the gun and going in the bore and going all the way through the rifling to ensure that the barrel is not has shrunk over time. Because you got to remember, Mother Nature affects steel as well. Heating, cooling, contracting. These guns are over 80 years old. So they've sat out in Mother Nature's realm of constantly being contracted, expanded, water, age. So what happens is the barrel lining is separate. It's not all one gun barrel like a cannon, okay? It's built in segments that we'll go over another time. And these segments can contract and restrict because they're different alloys. It's not all the same thing. These guns are heated, treated, put together, heated and treated again, shrinked, and they tend to distort over time when not in use. So if this gun was ever to be recycled or used again in the yard period, we'd take the whole gun mount out. We send it to what used to be Louisville, Kentucky, or some other contractor like FMC. They would strip this down to what we call parade rest, take everything out, rebuild it, check it, and then reassemble it with a new gun liner, because the liner is what really distorts. Now, I've personally taken a bore gauge that I recovered and tried to get it down these things to prove you can't fire a projectile out of these things. Because if you were to fire a projectile, it's so distorted that it would jam, rub, and if it had any explosives in it, it would detonate the barrel and it would be instant shrapnel everywhere. So it cannot be fired any projectiles. It's dangerous, more dangerous to the person operating it than it is anybody else. But we can use it as a simple hollow tube to fire off a saluting charge of black powder, which we're authorized by the state of Massachusetts, and we have our licenses to operate it as a cannon, not a rifle. So we use 1-pound charges. We actually operate it and we fire it locally. We've interrupted into the firing mechanical circuit here. This is the actual pin that engages. As you can hear it right in here, that's a little pin. All right. That pops out. So it's popped. I'd have to recock it. Want to make sure it was working, because the breech did move up and down. Now, usually a canister trips the breech upwards on the extractors. So we've ensured that the breech is set, locked in position, the extractors are holding it down. Now we have to use the fork. Right? This breech tool is for opening and closing. It's usually all brass, but the problem that we found in time is that the brass shears off here due to the mere force you have to use, because these breech blocks are not maintenance like a regular Navy breech block. So they tend to stick, and then you beat the hell out of this thing trying to get it to work. And we've had Peter follow, one of our volunteers, a quartermaster, who actually machined it out and put in a handle that will sustain the beating that we take, and hopefully we don't distort the fork itself. So breech tool comes in, pops the breech under spring tension. We keep that up to par and keep it greased. So your firing pin comes in here, your pin is down there. So as you hit it, it trips the firing pin and fires on the black powder. We use a 45 blank to ignite it. So we actually redid the cans so that way we can use them. So the breech, we like to keep low stick, needs to oil it. Like I say, we don't get the maintenance that we should because we're not an active ship, but we come through once a year, clean everything up and get them and check them as best we can. Sometimes we have, like this humid weather does nasty to our systems here, and we have to try to keep pace. And again, we don't have a full crew, so that's where volunteers come in very important. Step up, help out, and take care of other projects, because we can't take care of everything at once. We are jack of all, masters of few, and doers are everything here. So these ships are taxing in that respect. So the breech operates. The gun does not elevate, by the way. It's sealed. The port shield for here is sealed to prevent water coming in, because these mounts were not modified with an air seal that modern gun mounts are. They had what are called bloomers on the outside. Now these canvas bags rot. We still have our rails, and Massachusetts is the only South Dakota class that actually had the gun bag rails to keep the water from building up inside the canvas from ripping. So they expanded out the canvas fully to fully drain seawater and rainwater away from coming inside. As you can see, there's no seal up there, so the water would come in and fill the gun pits. Now we restored this one, and it's in the process. This is another long-term project which will be viewable once we do some modifications here, so you can see in. The idea being that we can restore this fully without worrying about proliferation of materials that people, some dastardly people, would try to take souvenirs, which we highly insulted, and we want to prevent that, but we want you to see what it was really like. And we'll get this Mount 6 here eventually as a viewable, fully up looking gun mount, and we'll work on that. So we're going to show you some footage here of us firing the gun in saluting mode and then cleaning up afterwards.
Fire!
Open!
This is the one, right? Yes, sir. That was a good start.
3, 2, 1, fire!
Open! cleanup is not easy due to the fact that we have to do it with a ladder up on the barrel, pull out the Tompkin and then clean it from the inside out instead of the opposite way. Normally you would take the gun, swing it over to the deck area, depress your barrels, and clean it so all the water and everything drains out the easy way, and then oil the chamber as well as the barrel to preserve it. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury, so we have to raise the spade, which would mechanically load, but we don't use it anymore, but it still physically moves, doesn't operate. Get it out of the way, and we just take the cleaning rods and the brushes, chamber brush and a bore brush, clean it out, oil it, and close it up again, and we have to clean the bilges out. So the gun pocket, as it's called, is where the gun can transverse to 85 degrees elevation. So, but we don't, it stays there, so we just clean it up, make it look pretty, and get the water out after we clean, and then oil down the slide and the areas needed to preserve it. So cleaning up the gun, you need the tools of the trade. So we keep them here. This is the former battery charging station. That'll be another segment we'll cover on here, and we will talk further into that. But we've rigged it up so that way we can use the deep sink as a workbench slash deep sink to clean our canisters. Now our canisters, I said, were spent 5-inch 54-38 similar canisters, and we modified the firing pin to receive a primer so that way we can fire in percussion mode, not electrical, percussion. Blank ammunition is too sensitive for naval gun ammunition, so it's purely percussion, not electrical, and that's what we use the firing pin for. This is a spent casing cut down so that way we can put in the 1-pound powder without having a problem, and it just goes off. It's a bag about just a small little looks like a chimichanga but basically that's it. So to clean the gun, we have our stored cleaning rods here. So these are standard rods. These would normally be stored, believe it or not, in the Ready Service magazine down below. We don't go into it to operate the gun, so we have what's called a chamber brush, which is wider, takes care of the chamber, which takes the canister, and then we have the bore brush. Okay, that goes all the way through the bore and out, and the cleaning rods. And we have a shorter one because I named this one Stubby, because Stubby, you use 2 rods and the shorter one. If you use the longer one, you have a chance of pushing it out the barrel, and we don't have it cleaning from the outside of the barrel inwards. We do it from the inside out, so we don't have that room to play, so we have a shortened one to effectively just stop and marked out so we don't go out of the rifling and the brush overhangs, and it's kind of hard as these flex sections go. We don't want to pass through it, so we do that, clean it that way, and we get it all set up. We have 1 rod in case one breaks. Lord forbid they're brass ended, so it's not spark producing, and we keep it stored in the rack we set up here. So now you've seen what we do here using this as a saluting battery. And again, I want to emphasize, you cannot fire a projectile out of these things. So you have nothing to worry. It is a blank 1-pound saluting charge. And that's how we do it. We pay tribute to those who served, who are sacrificed, and tribute to those who need it. That, as we see, and we do that here with our 5-inch 38s. Don't ask about the 16-inch gun. I am not cleaning them myself. Sorry, the 16-inch gun is a total different animal. It is a bag gun, and if we were to try to shoot it using black powder for the parameters that the state of Massachusetts gives us, all you hear would be, we can't do 600 pounds of black powder out here. We'd be blowing windows and everything. So no, we can't do it. Looks pretty, and we're not going to be setting up a propane tank or special movie effects. We don't make that much money to do that, and it's not good for the gun barrel over its life. We're trying to keep them preserved and work them as best as we can to bring you your history and how we preserve it, how we pay tribute to all those who sacrificed so much. I want to thank you for your time, and if you like what you've seen here, like, share, and subscribe. So that way we can get the word out and get more volunteers, people, and if you can contribute to the actual funds to help keep the ship going, we appreciate it. Thank you again. My name is Tom Lowney, Gunner's Mate, First Class, retired. See you out there at the next show.